Craig Bellamy said you're the most prepared player he's ever seen. What were your non-negotiables?
You know, just general things around nutrition, eating the same things all the time, walk on game day. I always slept on game day, regardless of whether we had a 2 o'clock kickoff or an 8 o'clock kickoff. I'd always find time to squeeze the sleep in. I was probably a bit more superstitious early on in my career where, you know, my mouth guard would have to be in my right boot and I'd always have to be able to know where, you know, all those things were. But as I said, when I had kids, those sort of things sort of went out the window and I had to sort of adapt a bit more.
Let's talk about some of your coaches. Obviously, guys that you had in Craig and Des and Fitzy, guys probably noted for being similar to you in terms of meticulous work ethic, almost obsessive. Like, is that why you resonated with coaches like that?
I really enjoyed all the coaches that I have, and there are some differences between them all. And, you know, Des was obviously, you know, he gave me my first grade debut and gave me my opportunity, and, you know, a hard taskmaster and great work ethic as well. And, you know, his reputation speaks for itself. You know, Craig Bellamy, obviously, you know, his reputation speaks for himself. He's been doing this for 2 decades, and, you know, outside of the salary cap year, he's never missed the finals. Like that record speaks for itself. You know, the work ethic that he has, similar to Fitzy, he's person first before the player. And, you know, you can have a conversation away from rugby league that's not about coming back to rugby league. You can sort of detach from it. He can spray someone and then come out of the meeting and have a talk about life. You know what I mean? It's nothing personal. It's business. And, you know, he can keep those two separate, and Fitzy's great at doing that as well.
Des and Craig, who's more intense?
I definitely copped more sprays from Des.
Right, let's go back to before your first grade career, a boy from Bega. Tell me about life as a young fella.
Yeah, I grew up in Bega on the south coast, and, you know, small country town. Coast was sort of 15 minutes away, so I sort of had the best of both worlds. I started playing rugby league at the age of 8. All my mates were playing. As you do when you're a kid, you just want to do what all your mates are doing. So I'm thankful that I stopped playing soccer and started playing rugby league.
And you and Kezzy Apps played together when you were younger, right?
Yeah, we're the same age, Kezzy and I. And it wasn't my first coach, but her dad was actually my second coach at rugby league and coached us in the under-10s, I believe. And yeah, it's surreal now when we look back at photos, and there's a couple of black and white photos from Bega District News that have sort of circulated since then. And
you said her dad was one of your coaches, and apparently he used to hand out report cards, and he said about you, he said you've got the attitude and work ethic to make it in the NRL when you were about 10 years old or 11 years old. So he's a pretty good judge.
He fits it well. Yeah, I do recall there's like an annual yearbook that the Bega Roosters would hand out, and every coach would you know, write a little summation of each player. And I actually do recall that. I probably come across that a handful, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I found that old yearbook, and I think I sent a photo and sent it to Kezzy, and because Kezzy was actually our top try scorer, and she was our best player, and it was interesting to look back and reflect on, you know, all the comments made by her dad to all the boys.
How did you make it from Bega to the Bulldogs?
So, being to the Bulldogs, I'd obviously played in a handful of rep sides as a youngster, and is at a country carnival in Newcastle. I think I must have played well at that carnival, and I picked up my manager, Andrew Purcell, from there, and he called my mother to say that he wanted to sign me as a, you know, be on his books. And from there, very soon after, signed a 4-year deal with the Bulldogs and went to Bass Hill for high school, and then sort of went through the Bulldog system and, you know, the SG Ball, the 20s and reserve grade, and got to make my debut in 2012.
Out there, Dale Finucane on debut here tonight, getting his first run in the NRL.
Played a number of games that year, including a grand final.
You know, when I made my debut in round 13 against South, and we went on, you know, to win, I think, 12 in a row. And I think in my time there, we sort of won in round 13, and then my first loss, I think, came in round 26 against the Raiders. That was the first loss, and then obviously played finals after that. So I was just thinking, how good's first grade? How good's winning? Like I don't know that I took it for granted, but I was, you know, grateful that I was able to play in finals, and then in a grand final in that first year. You know, I probably came off. I think I played 10 or 15 minutes off the bench in that game.
7, I checked.
Pardon?
7 minutes, I checked.
7 minutes, there you go, if that, 7 minutes. So, but I don't know whether I took it for granted, but I don't particularly have any memories of that game. And similarly with the 2014 grand final against South a couple of years later, it probably wasn't until 2017 that I actually reflected on those moments. We had Richie McCaw come in and speak with us in 2017 prior to the 2017 grand final, and a lot of his advice was around, you know, taking in the moments and, you know, looking around the crowd and looking for your family and just being present with it all. And, you know, I really took that advice on for the rest of my career in terms of playing Origins and playing in other big games.
The move to the Melbourne Storm, how did that come about?
Yeah, it was interesting because I still had 2 years to run on my deal at Canterbury at the time. And with the players that were at Canterbury, you know, it was a star-studded forward pack there at the time. It was kind of a mutual agreement that we could part ways, you know, that the coaching staff are happy to sort of have me move on, as well as, you know, obviously looking for an opportunity to. I felt like my strength was probably to play bigger minutes than probably what I was. I was probably a little bit erratic, I guess, in terms of the minutes that I was playing. It was really quick how it all transpired, and you know, I'm very thankful because I've had, you know, great memories at the Melbourne Storm for 7 years.
You hear about the Melbourne Storm and the organisation. When you got there, was it what you thought it would be?
Yeah, if anything, it probably exceeded my expectations. It was, you know, I think the big draw card to go there was playing under Craig Bellamy and, you know, the big three, Cameron, Billy and Coops. You know, and just to learn from those guys, and, you know, they were such big characters in the game at the time, and, you know, to play under them and to learn under them, I just thought my game could only get better for being under their leadership.
Second year at the Storm, 2016, third grand final, third loss in a grand final. Did you start to think at that point, you're cursed and we're ever going to get over this hump and win one?
Yeah, I guess you could have thoughts of that, but at the same time, it's so hard to make a grand final. There's really a lot that goes into it, and to an extent, a little bit of luck as well. You know, you can play well all season and then you can have one poor performance. I was aware, I think, in the 2017 grand final that I think had I lost that game, it would have been some sort of a record, I think, for, you know, for NRL losses, yeah. Which is something I didn't want to have to my name. But at the same time, I was super grateful to be there.